On at least 3 or 4 occasions in the past week, we've had to smash the windows of people in cars and pull them out of there so they could provide their details because they weren't telling us where they were going.
G'day, mate. But what in the world have you done to Melbourne? The police state down under looks like something out of the old Soviet Union. And by the way, it's back. From Washington, D.C. to Seattle to Puerto Rico, guillotines are popping up all over the place. Como ça se fait? Plus, Pope Francis weighs in on George Floyd and racism in America, and Cardinal Burke takes Joe Biden to task on Fox News. All that and more tonight at the Editor's Desk. Hello again, ladies and gentlemen. Michael Matt coming to you once again from the offices of the Remnant newspaper. Just a quick word of thanks, sincere thanks tonight, for your enthusiastic response to the premiere of our last show. We're using the premiere feature now on YouTube for as long as they let us stay on board here, and it worked out pretty well. So I'm trying to read all your comments over here, and I very much appreciate them. So thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much for your support. And I know also we've picked up a lot of new subscribers lately, given the situation in the world and the church. That's not surprising. Lots of people are not happy with the way things are going. They're a little afraid. They're a little angry. So that's resulted in a lot of new subscribers, and a lot of you are not Catholics. But you find yourselves behind enemy lines here, trapped behind the enemy lines like the rest of us, and it's time for all of us to have these conversations and to try to make a stand now for our country, for our way of life. So wherever you come down then on the conservative spectrum, hello, welcome to our channel. And make sure, by the way, that you sign up for our e-blast down here. There's a link below so that we can stay in touch. You know, I don't want to get too paranoid, but the handwriting is sort of on the wall, and who knows how long many of us are going to be allowed to stay on some of these social media outlets such as YouTube. So let's stay together. If you get on our email list, we can always stay in touch because we do have options that we're working on. Should we ever happen to get thrown off YouTube, we intend to continue this, what I consider to be important work. So last week in our program, The Great Reset, we covered this World Economic Forum in Davos in Switzerland, talking about the Great Reset of January 2021. It's coming up right away now.
The Great Reset is a welcome recognition that this human tragedy must be a wake-up call. It is imperative that we reimagine, rebuild, redesign, reinvigorate, and rebalance our world.
Later in the show, I want to talk about, some of those Bond villains that we showed last time, since I'm really convinced that they are not nearly as invincible as they think they are. And that's just not speculation. I'm going to give you my reasons for why I think they're very vulnerable. But first, tonight, as we all brace now for major disruptions to life as we knew it in the months ahead, let's not mince words. I mean, we got to fight here. No matter what happens in November, however, the globalist threat is not going away. These guys are all in, which is why they and their water carriers in the media are actively working every day, 24/7, to scare the heck out of all of us, to cripple us with fear of a virus that has claimed the lives of 661,000 people worldwide. Now, that sounds like a pretty scary number, doesn't it? Until you consider that even with a vaccine, the seasonal flu takes the lives of 650,000 people every year. Please, friends, share that. Talk to your neighbors about that, because they're using the number of deaths from COVID to scare us. The only way it works, however, is if you don't realize how many people truly are in the world, how many billions of people, and what a tiny fraction we're talking about who have succumbed to COVID. So we're terrified of this thing. They're telling us to wear masks. They're telling us who we can go see. They're canceling sports. They're canceling graduations. My son just graduated from college. I got to watch it on Zoom. Isn't that exciting? Because no parents were allowed on that big, and all of you are going through that, the big moments in our lives. We're being told to just go ahead and put it all on hold because Big Brother says that's what's best for all of us. Do you understand how terrifying this is? So remember these numbers. Why were we not terrified last year when, according to the CDC, 650,000 people succumbed to another virus? Think about that, friends. Why weren't we terrified? Why weren't we closing everything down? And why we're asking questions, which of course is counter-revolutionary now to ask questions. Why are we talking about defunding the police again when violent crime in America has never been like this? It's skyrocketing. It's dangerous. Businesses are pulling out of the big cities right here in Minneapolis. It is literally dying. People are getting out. The folks in the inner city, many of whom are black, are begging for the police to come back in and restore order.
We feel vulnerable, that people can come anytime and do whatever they want because we don't have police protection.
What are these liberals doing talking about defunding the police in the middle of all this?
Those looting stores and confronting police are far-left activists.
Another question. With a truly unsettling future out ahead of us all right now in this country and around the world, why here in America are we making war on history, making war on the past, making war on the people who came 200-300 years ago? What are we doing? What's that about? Why, to paraphrase George Orwell, is every American record being destroyed and falsified? Every book is being rewritten, every picture repainted, every statue and street building torn down and renamed, right? Why are they doing this? Why are we getting ready to turn the country over to Bonnie and a senile Clyde? Two completely unelectable losers who've been trying for the White House, trying to become presidents. They both have failed. Is this the best the Democrats can do? Or is the thing now to get a totally malleable person into the White House, into the Oval Office, a guy who will do exactly what he's told? You know that's what's coming.
He's going to do things that nobody ever would ever think even possible because he's following the radical left agenda. Take away your guns, destroy your Second Amendment, no religion, no anything, hurt the Bible, hurt God.
Think about it. We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by you know the thing.
This is something you might have missed. Cardinal Raymond Burke on Fox News telling the world what Joe the Catholic Biden is really all about.
No devout Catholic, no practicing Catholic can be in favor of abortion, could justify voting for legislation, policies that promote abortion, and he has a consistent record of being pro-abortion.
And when we get him in, nothing's going to change, by the way, for the better, because the chaos needs to continue. The anarchy needs to keep going. Remember, 18 months until the old normal maybe can partly come back. Until then, it's the new normal of chaos and fear and face masks. With Joe and Joe and Com, yes, at the helm, next year at this time, the United States of America could very well be Melbourne, Australia.
We want you to stay at home. That's what the Chief Health Officer wants you to do. We expect you to adhere to the Chief Health Officer guidelines. If you don't, we will be enforcing those. We will issue infringements. We will arrest you. We've seen them at checkpoints, baiting police, not providing their name and address. On at least 3 or 4 occasions in the past week, we've had to smash the windows of people in cars and pull them out of there so they could provide their details because they weren't telling us where they were going.
That's going to be the U.S. tomorrow, friends. There's no reason to think otherwise.
The need for this mandatory mask wearing will also be about what Joe has articulated and what a Biden-Harris administration will do in terms of creating a pandemic testing board to get tens of millions of testing kits where needed, to build a public health jobs corps, hiring at least 100,000 Americans to lead us through contact tracing as soon as we take office.
God help us, friends, under this malleable, empty vessel. The chaos will only become weaponized more. And why? It's because none of this is actually real. This is all engineered. It's all created. Okay? The Black Lives Matter movement is not about race. You know that. Not really. Antifa is not about ending economic disparity and some new economic system that they want. No, this mob is not seeking justice, friends. They don't care about justice. They're not seeking anything that anyone can actually deliver. That's the little secret. They're not actually looking for redress. The mob is being used to abolish the old order and to usher in a new order. That's what this is all about. You know this. And it's all happened before. That's the thing. That's a sad thing. People don't know history. Now, I'm not talking about ancient history, the history of Greece or Rome. I'm talking about recent history. I'm talking about Russia. I'm talking about Germany in 1938, China in 1949. And, of course, it all started in France in 1789. The big revolution, the big one that got all this going. In some ways, Donald Trump reminds me a little bit of King Louis XVI, the King of France at the time, who tried to appease the mob of his day. He kind of took them seriously, kind of a nice guy. He took them seriously. Oh, they got some problems. See if we can fix that. Took them seriously by taking their complaints seriously. And for his trouble, the King of France lost his head. And now history is repeating itself in America. The guillotine is back in America. And the mob, incredibly, is making reference to 1789, the Reign of Terror, the French Revolution.
It is not chess, it is chop. Chop! Has anybody here ever heard of the French Revolution before? Does anybody here know what happened to the people who did not get on board with the French Revolution? Say it louder. Say it louder. That is the message we need to send. We are serious.
And during the French Revolution, 300,000 Frenchmen were arrested from 1793 through 1794. Over 40,000 French were killed. 2,600 were guillotined, lost their heads in Paris alone. Could never happen here. That's exactly what those 40,000 murdered French thought when the mob started cutting off the heads, first of statues, then of priests, nuns, kings, queens, and finally anyone, friends, anyone who was deemed to be lacking in due enthusiasm for the Reign of Terror. You see? Does that sound familiar? And this isn't necessarily all that personal. This is not necessarily about political persuasion or political parties. This is about anarchy. Which is why this was the scene outside of the house of Jeff Bezos, of all people, in Washington, D.C., not long ago. Check this out.
Put it down when nobody around. Emo with the crowd, emo wear a gown, emo wear a shirt that say John Brown.
He owns the Washington Post. He's as far left as you can get. He's got sympathy for every far-left radical cause in the book, including Black Lives Matter, and they set a guillotine out in front of his house. Why do you think that is? It's about class warfare. He makes too much money. You know, he's an aristocrat. Doesn't matter what party he is. Got to get rid of people like that. And you see, but it's not personal. It's not personal. This is just the business of class warfare that the revolution always employs. This is the business of world revolution, whose final goal has always been, so Nesta Webster argued back in 1924, has always been not socialism or even communism, but an anarchy of ideas where 19 centuries of honored traditions will be trodden underfoot, and above all, the Christian ideal will be finally obliterated. What's going on here? Right now, the mob is beheading statues again, friends. They're burning churches. They're burning Bibles, burning flags. They're impeaching presidents. They want a new anthem. The other day I heard they want to use John Lennon's Imagine to replace the Star-Spangled Banner. Of course. The same thing happened in France. They replaced the anthem. And now they're even threatening to storm the Bastille, only this time it's the White House. On September 17th, tens of thousands of our fellow citizens will lay siege to the White House. So why is this happening?
The slightest suspicion can send anyone to the scaffold. Politicians who say a kind word of the defunct monarchy. Anyone who uses the formal monsieur or madame instead of the new form of address, citizen. The air is fraught with paranoia. Neighbors denounce neighbors.
It's the same revolution, and they know it is. The mob, even. Right now, they don't know much, but they know this is the same revolution. It's the same one. And this revolution still believes that it has the right to use the blood of tyrants, to spill the blood of tyrants, and to use that blood to water the tree of liberty. Only in our case, the tyrants are the police, the president, God, and anyone else who stands in the way. Anyone else who stands for law and order.
His name was often called out during protests, and demonstrators demanding an end to police brutality against Black Americans marched on the White House. They say President Donald Trump has done nothing to stop the violence. Some say that he has even incited to more hatred.
And the new tree of liberty means do as thou wilt shall become the whole of the law. So we're facing anarchy. Rebellion against God, rebellion against the commandments of God, rebellion against the law of God, rebellion against natural law. That's what this is. Not just Republican versus Democrat. It's a joke to think that's all it is, and that this only has to do with the next presidential election. It doesn't. But it's largely because of Donald Trump's unlikely rise to power. This forced these guys out into the open field prematurely. They had to show their hands. And that's what we're looking at. They knew if Donald Trump just cruised through here, made America great again, got another election, got another 4 years, they would be set back decades. So they had to come out of the closet. They had to bring out their party tricks and their pandemics and their riots and everything else, their impeachment, their Russian hoaxes, everything else to stop him. And in the process of doing that, we got to see what they really are. Thank God for that. Now, last episode, I played clips from this guy from Davos.
The COVID-19 crisis has shown us that our old systems are not fit anymore for the 21st century. It has laid bare the fundamental lack of social cohesion, fairness, inclusion, and equality. In short, we need a great reset.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but this guy's straight from Central Casting. Jawohl, Herr Kommandant. Now we see who you are. We want you to get over yourself. You nut job. Didn't we have enough of this stuff back in the 30s and 40s in Germany? This guy's German. Now there's this guy. He needs help putting his socks on in the morning, but he's going to take over the world.
We are committing $1 billion to it, but we can't build a global network on our own. We will need partner institutions and supporters from all around the world to join us in this enterprise.
George, do you want to go get some pudding out in the main dining room, or should we go over your world domination plans once again? Now there's this guy.
A seguito della tragica morte del signor George Floyd. Cari amici, non possiamo tollerare né chiudere gli occhi su qualsiasi tipo di razzismo o di esclusione e pretende di difendere la sacralità di ogni vita umana.
There's the good news again. These globalists were kicked into last week by the most unlikely guy on the planet. They're terrified of Donald Trump. Why? They're scared he might win. Why? What does that mean? It means they're vulnerable.
The overwhelming majority of progressives understand that Donald Trump is the most dangerous president in the history of this country.
Why do you think social media is constantly trying to shadow ban us all and deplatform conservatives? And what do you think they're doing this for? Unless they're really very afraid of something. Well, what are they so afraid of? Why won't they let us speak? I know it's disheartening. I know a lot of people are scared out there. You're praying every night, you know. It seems very unstable, and it is. But look at the fear of the other on the other side. Look how much they're trying to silence us. Why? Because they know they're not strong enough. If we were to stand up, if we were to unite, if we were to wake up, we could turn this around. So let's do it. Let's wake up. Take the mask off. And win or lose in November, millions of conservative Christian patriots are not going to disappear. We're not going anywhere. Not until this insufferable New World Order, like the Third Reich that preceded it, not until it is swept into the dustbin of history, friends. That's the confidence we need to have. That's what we need to do with this. Every movement like this in the past has ended up in the dustbin of history, and so will this one. As long as we're not intimidated, as long as we don't empower and enable them by thinking they're as powerful as they want us to think that they are. They are bullies, and right now they're staggering because of a guy named Donald Trump. So let's make this happen. Let's not underestimate the power of speaking out, the power of resistance, the power of patriotism, the power of a strong Christian counter-revolution that isn't afraid to stand with Almighty God and His law. You think we're done? You think we're intimidated? That we're ready to surrender? We're ready to give up? We have not yet. To quote the man, we have not yet begun to fight. God bless you, friends. Let's stay on the field. Let's continue to fight. Do not be discouraged. God is with us. I'm absolutely convinced of this. I'm Michael Matt from Remnant TV. Thank you so much for listening. God bless you, and we'll see you next week.